Hi there everybody and welcome back to another video on the Toon Review YouTube channel. We have more news from Newcastle United, and this time it's more about players leaving in the transfer window coming up, not coming in. We've got news on Trippier, Wilson, also Almiron. Bruno has poo-pooed any reports linking him with a move away from the club, and could we be making another approach for Guehi right at the start of the transfer window? We've got it all. So thank you very much for watching and hope you enjoy the video. We'll start off with the stories regarding Trippier and Wilson. Now, Miguel Almirón is also mentioned in this story, but I want to do him in a different segment because his agent is saying the opposite, which is weird. But apparently Eddie Howe has given the green light on selling Kieran Trippier and Callum Wilson in January, providing we find suitable replacements. And that's fair enough. You know, we're not just going to sell them without having replacements in these positions. If we look at Kieran Trippier's position at right back, you know, yes, Livramento's there at the minute and doing a grand job. He's getting better as the season's gone on, made appearances for England, etc. So we've got a very, very good right back there anyway. But if he got injured and Trippier leaves, that leaves Emil Kraft probably, and he's out injured at the minute. We're not sure when his comeback date is. So I definitely think we need a suitable replacement to come in, and also to continue to push on Tino Livramento, because if there's nobody really challenging Tino for a place, you get a bit lackadaisical. We've seen it with Isak, really. When Wilson's been injured, there's been nobody really pushing him for that starting place up front. And that brings us on to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson, I think the fans are completely fed up now. He hasn't played at all this season. He's made about 4 or 5 appearances in the whole of 2024. It's just not good enough. Now, a lot of fans, certainly on our shows a couple of weeks ago, said that they had the thoughts that maybe Eddie Howe and Newcastle United were just sort of making these little stories up about Callum Wilson, that his injury's ongoing, because they have a view to selling him in January and don't want him injured, because they know how his injuries go. He plays a couple of games and then he's out for 4 or 5 or maybe more, and they don't want to take that chance come January when a team might come in for Callum and say, right, we'll have him. But what we've got to be careful of here is that we don't do anything silly and give them away for silly money. I think, you know, Callum Wilson will still generate a decent fee, as will Trippier, but I'm right behind Eddie in thinking that we do need suitable replacements. But we also need replacements on the right-hand side, and we need replacements at the centre of defence as well, which we'll come on to in a second. But listen, I'd be open to this. I think Kieran Trippier's had a difficult time in his personal life. You know, there was reports at the back end of the summer that maybe he wanted to move abroad again to finish his career. And I'd wish him well. He's been a fantastic servant to Newcastle United, as has Callum. They both have been brilliant servants to the club, but there comes a time where you just have to say, right, enough's enough. We can't go on with Callum like this. We're paying him a fortune, and he's not even getting on the pitch. Maybe his body is telling him something else. The Premier League is a little bit too rigorous for him now, or maybe he just can't get to that fitness level that Eddie Howe wants again. You know, we know how strict he is on the players' fitnesses. If Callum can't get to that level, then he won't play. It's as simple as that. But with Kieran, I think he's out, you know, I think he's training again now, actually, back from injury. But Tino is ahead of him, and I think Kieran realises that. But, you know, for Kieran's career and maybe his personal life as well, I think he's looking for a move abroad. So it's interesting that these reports have come out now saying that, you know, Howe is given the green light on it, and has, you know, come to some agreement with Paul Mitchell that they can go as long as suitable replacements are found. So it's certainly one to keep an eye on. But it leads us nicely onto the centre-back position, because, again, these reports of Marc Guehi are floating around the internet, and we all knew this would happen. Certainly at the end of the transfer window in the summer, there was always reports that Newcastle United would reinvestigate the situation in January, and that's exactly what a lot of people are saying. This report from the Northern Echo just saying that, you know, we're going to make an approach again, but it's very different from the summer. And there's a couple of points to make which I agree with, actually, as to why Palace may have to sell him now. He still hasn't signed a contract extension, so that'll be in the back of their minds as well. But you look at how they've started the season and their league position. They are really threatened with relegation, and they do not want to get relegated again. So what might have to happen is they might have to generate money to bring players in, which would mean getting a decent amount for Guehi and then buying players in order to survive in the Premier League. They cannot take the risk of getting relegated, because if they did, Guehi, they are nowhere near going to get the money that certainly is being banded around for Guehi at the minute. And Guehi won't want to play in the Championship. He's an England international. Whether you think he's had a decent start to the season or not, he certainly played well enough for England, but his Palace form has been a bit iffy. Is that because his head's been turned? He doesn't want to be at the club. He wants to be at Newcastle, fighting at the right end of the table. We don't know all of this. We can only speculate. But you know what? I wouldn't be opposed to going in for him again. But we have to do things right from our club's point of view this time and not get dragged along and taken the piss out of, which we were clearly done in the summer. Palace changed the goalpost so many times. There was molehills grown on where the old goalpost used to be. It was pathetic. And for some reason, there was reports every single week of us going in with a new amount. It didn't stop. So we've got to, from our end, got to do things better. But it could be very different now because of the points I've just made about where Palace are in the league and the situation with Guehi himself. You know, they will not want to risk. It does say that the deal still may be difficult because of the opinions on a transfer fee. Now, Palace have got to realise that they've got to get the best price for Guehi, but be realistic about it as well. You know, given the situation they're in, they cannot take the risk. They cannot take the risk of losing millions of pounds on this player, either by relegation or the fact that he could walk away for free. They cannot. This winter transfer window is probably the best opportunity Palace are going to get a decent fee for him. And it may be, certainly from Newcastle's point of view, I want to see us go in that negotiation room and say, right, there you go, take it or leave it, it's up to you. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit of negotiation, but not what we saw in the summer, because that was an absolute piss take. To be honest, Crystal Palace will be lucky that Newcastle do go back in. Because if I was running Newcastle United, I'd say piss off and I'd look elsewhere. Because we all know that there's very good centre-backs. But the situation with us with centre-backs, Botman and Lascelles, not expected back till probably late January, and then they've got to get match fit. So God knows when they're going to be back. So we do need a centre-back. So you could be looking at 4 players that we need to bring in. Another striker, a right-back, a right-winger, and a centre-back. That's an awful lot of business that needs to be done in January. And I know Eddie Howe's sort of played it all down, saying it's going to be difficult, etc. We all know that what Eddie Howe's game is. He plays it very well. But we have to address certain positions in January. We as fans can see it a mile away. But it's a one to keep an eye on. Now, Miguel Almirón, I have no idea what is going on here with Miguel Almirón, because there's literally 4 or 5 reports this morning stating that Miggy himself is trying to generate a move away from Newcastle United in the January window. He knows his time is now limited. His place is very firmly on the subs bench. His time on the pitch is even more limited, because we've seen that he's not Eddie Howe's first choice to come on. There's other players well ahead of him in the substitute pecking order. So Miggy's kind of sitting there thinking, yeah, my time's up. I need to find a move away. We know there was an approach by Charlotte in the summer. We know that River Plate have made inquiries before this transfer window opens in Argentina. So it's a chance for Miggy to go and play first-team football. However, on the flip side of that, his agent has come out and confirmed that he is staying unless he gets a massive offer from another football club. Now, that massive offer is obviously going to be wages as well, and we'll come on to that in a second. But Miggy himself believes he wants to stay and fight for his place. Now, this is what is very difficult to understand. You're getting so many reports saying that he's looking to move, and this one saying that his agent has come out and strenuously denied that Miggy himself wants to leave Newcastle United. Now, there was a rumour that I read yesterday that Miggy had been given or had his contract extension activated because he'd met certain elements of his previous one. And his agent kind of gives this away, because in the interview he said that he's got another 2.5 years at Newcastle United. And he's on 60 grand a week, okay? And he's in no hurry to leave, because he's thinking, well, you know, where am I going to get 60 grand a week elsewhere? And that is a perfectly decent question to ask. Where is Miggy going to get 60 grand a week at another football club? Because certainly River Plate won't give him 60 grand a week. I can guarantee you that in a hat. But there's no Premier League team going to give him 60 grand a week either. You know, and I think I don't see him staying in the Premier League. I think an MLS move or maybe to South America somewhere is going to be his best option, possibly Saudi. But nobody's going to give him 60 grand a week. And I think Miggy has to realise that. But what his agent is saying, he doesn't want to give up these wages. And why should he? If he's his contract extended, that's 60 grand a week for another 2.5 years, where he could be getting less than half of that if he moves to another club. So it's up in the air with Miggy. I mean, it really is. But I think we need to get this guy out of the club. I don't think he's good enough anymore. Everybody knows my opinion on Miggy. Nothing personal. I just don't think he's a good enough footballer anymore. And I think the Premier League certainly is too good for him. So I think he needs to move. And Newcastle are going to find it very, very difficult. If Miggy wants to sit in his arse and collect the 60 grand a week wages, we're a bit stumped. And we know that we need to improve that right-hand side. And Miggy's sale would be a huge part of generating some of the money to bring in another right winger. So I've no idea, is my honest opinion on it. I want to see him gone. I want to see him sold in January. I want to see Wilson sold in January. But again, Miggy's wages are going to be a huge problem. And finally, Bruno has played down any links with Manchester City or Arsenal. He's done similar to what Isak did, and basically just turned around and said, I am with Newcastle, I'm not leaving. Now, he did come out yesterday and say he believes he's an idol at the club. He's captain of Newcastle United, which he's very proud of. He also, a couple of years back, couldn't have dreamt of a better move to move into the Premier League and be captain of Newcastle United. So, Bruno himself is not going anywhere, guys. You can still read the links even today to Arsenal, to Manchester City, etc., and how good the move would be for Bruno to work under Pep, etc., etc. But Bruno himself has come out and denied any of the links and said he is staying where he is because he just loves everything about the football club. So let's see what happens with that, but it's nice. It's really nice to hear Bruno come out and say that. He has had a very, very difficult time in international duty with Brazil, though. They've been terrible again and were booed off in their last match against 1-1 draw against Uruguay. Not Bruno himself booed off, but the team. And we know that Bruno has come in for some criticism from the international fans recently. But I think Brazil, I don't know what's happening with that side at the minute, but they're all over the place. And certainly, Bruno is part of that. But the whole team were booed. So he's had a difficult time away again. But I'm sure once again he'll feel the love at St James's Park on Monday night. But there you go. As usual, leave me a comment below. I do read them all. Even though I can't reply to them all, I do read them. I'm very interested to know what you think of the Miggy situation, because I think it's becoming a farce, just like the bloody Wilson situation. Is Miggy going to sit on the bench for 60 grand a week, or is he actually going to try and find a move for himself? Not according to his agent, but at least 5 newspaper reports today linking Miggy with a move away by generating the move himself. So let me know what you think of that. Would you sell Trippier and Wilson, or is that just a stupid question on Callum Wilson? And the Guehi situation, of course, as well. So let me know in the comments below what you think of it all. If you're watching this on Wednesday afternoon, we are back at 7 o'clock tonight with a Newcastle United news show. We're going to have a look at the players who've been on international duty, seeing how they've played, what the fans' reaction was and things like that to them. So we'll go through them all and any other latest news that is coming in from the club. So should be a great show again. So join us at 7 o'clock for that. But in the meantime, have a fantastic Wednesday afternoon, guys. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like. Please subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.